A development on April 11 this year might fundamentally alter Karnataka's political landscape. This was when the cabinet opened the much debated social and educational survey report, popularly called the Caste Census. It's been nearly 2 weeks since then, and there have been hundreds of articles, dozens of television debates, and several heated discussions. The cabinet meeting on April 17th was inconclusive, and another has been scheduled for May 2nd, where the discussion is expected to continue. Now, why is the Congress hesitating so much when it is committed to its manifesto promise? To understand these nuances, I spoke to political analysts Harish Ramaswamy and Venkatesh Togarigatta. But before that, a quick recap of how politics has played out in the state. So what exactly is the caste census and when did it all start? In 2015, the caste census was conducted for the first time during Siddaramaiah's first term as Chief Minister. The Backward Classes Commission headed by H. Kantaraj conducted this survey, which was similar to the census. The only difference was that this focused on socio-economic and educational parameters of different castes. The idea was to know the specific numbers and progress of each community to better distribute reservations. Now remember, this was the first such caste census since 1931, since all other previous commissions have only depended on sample surveys. In 2024, the final report was submitted after nearly 10 years. The current report has found that the OBCs, which includes dominant castes, constitute nearly 70% of the population and has accordingly suggested increasing their reservation to 51%. It is currently 32%. So far so good, right? Then what's all the chaos about? A quick look at the Karnataka's history will show you the dominance of Lingayat and Okkaliga communities. Their hegemony has continued post-independence and clearly reflects in the state's power dynamics. The two communities' combined numbers were believed to be around 33% of the state's population. 16 of the 23 chief ministers in Karnataka have been from these two castes. The entire controversy is rooted in the fact that the data from the current report can potentially shake this dominance of these two communities. Of the 5.98 crore people surveyed, only 66 lakh people were found to be Lingayats, that is 12%, and only 61.58 lakh, that is 11%, were found to be Okkaligas. As per these findings, the number one position is held by the scheduled castes, which comprise 18%, and second position goes to Muslims, who make up 13%. Since only a few castes categorized under the backward classes have had political representation so far, these new numbers could potentially tilt the political equations in favor of these communities. Understandably, this is why much of the resistance for the census has been from the two major communities. For the Congress, which fought the assembly polls with the caste census promise in 2023, it's a catch-22 situation, as it also risks antagonizing its own leaders from the two dominant communities. Importantly, after the cabinet discussed this report, senior congressman Shamnu Shivshankarappa, who is also a Lingayat strongman, has threatened the party that it cannot be in power without the support of Lingayats and Okkaligas.
So, if we actually look at the political landscape of Karnataka, Lingayats and Okkaligas are a powerhouse of the state, right? So, in the current assembly, 2023 assembly, there are about 100 members from both the communities. Taking on two of the powerhouses is not an easy thing for any political party. So, if you actually notice, both the BJP and Congress are actually treading very cautiously. It's not that either of them are going hammer and tongs in support of the census or against it. So, considering that both Lingayats and Okkaligas have opposed this tooth and nail, it's not going to be an easy thing for the Congress to really go ahead, because within Congress itself there are about 50-55 people from both the communities, and it's interesting how the Congress leadership is going to handle this within the party in the first place.
The dominant communities have accused the report of undercounting their numbers. They have also argued that while they are not opposed to the caste census as such, they are against this current exercise. The BJP and its ally JDS have also taken a similar stand, with the BJP even saying that the exercise divides the Hindu society along caste lines. Supporters of the report, on the other hand, have referred to the elaborate 55-point questionnaire and the point-based backwardness indicators to justify its authenticity. Although the report has mandated all subcastes to come under the same category as the main caste, presence of communities with similar names in different categories has added to the confusion. For example, if the Sadar community comes under Lingayats, there is also another Sadar community coming under a different category called Hindu Sadar. So this has added to the confusion of several communities regarding where they actually stand. This debate, very interestingly, is also being articulated from the angle of the power dynamics between CM Siddaramaiah and his deputy DK Shivkumar. For Siddaramaiah, a Kuruba who has been recognized as the leader of Ahinda communities. Ahinda is basically an umbrella group of minorities, Dalits and OBCs in Kannada. So for him, who has recognized himself as an Ahinda champion, implementing the findings of this report will further his credentials as the champion of social justice. However, the dilemma is different for DK Shivakumar, who is a Vokaliga, and for whom the dilemma will be choosing between the party and caste affiliations. This is not easy and may even potentially come in the way of his chief ministerial ambitions. The BJP has often accused Siddaramaiah of raking up the issue to corner Shivakumar.
Now, most of these people, the leaders of today and today's Congress, they're all in comfort zone. They were all, sort of carved out as the Vokaliga, leaders, or the Lingayat leaders, or the OBC leaders, or the scheduled caste leaders. Now, once this number comes up, there'll be a, juggling that is going to take place. And especially at the top level, you have Mr. Siddaramaiah sitting as a chief minister and trying to bring in this. And then Mr. Shivkumar, who had posed so far as the Vokaliga leader, post Devegowda, which is not yet happened. Now, they are all uncomfortable because, they will have to change their positions and then talk in terms of, pan-Karnataka leadership, etc.
But in my opinion, I would believe that the caste census implementation is linked to larger strategic goal of the Congress at the national level rather than anything to do with the state level issues. Of course, the state Congress has used it tactically for some of the gains, local gains in the past. But I think this time it's probably the larger national interest or the larger national strategic goals of the Congress party for a few reasons.
The caste census has repeatedly featured in the political discourse of the Congress in the past few years. It was a part of their manifesto for both the 2023 Karnataka polls as well as the 24 Lok Sabha polls. It's a pet project of top Congress leader Rahul Gandhi and is widely believed that the High Command has nudged the state Congress to speed up the caste census issue. For the Congress, which has ceded ground to the BJP over the last 30-35 years in national politics, the caste census has been seen as a potential game changer. Can the grand old party potentially counter BJP's upper caste driven Hindutva motive with a strong OBC mobilization?
The OBC is being pushed, and will it fight against the Hindutva argument? Well, academically, I can tell you that this is not going to be a favorable one because by doing so, they would be not only antagonizing certain other castes which are put in the inverted commas as upper caste so far, and they have already enjoyed the power and they have wielded a lot of influence. Now, once this OBC comes into the picture and then there is more reservation, then there will be more bickering, and people would also go to the court and approach the court and try to strike it down. And the Hindutva card is much more broader as a canvas. And then it has already seeped into the mindset of a large section of the population, which you are seeing.
So now that BJP has clearly moved towards, aligning or mobilizing all Hindus irrespective of the caste lines, cutting across caste lines, has also resulted in the weakening of the Congress at the national level over the last decade or so. So now for the Congress to come back strategically looking, it has to kind of somehow break that the Hindutva strategy of the BJP. So I think they are looking at mobilization of OBCs as one of the positionings or one of the strategies to overcome the Hindutva strategy of BJP.
The Congress will certainly be thinking about the all India ramifications of the report, specifically as the Bihar elections are around the corner. Incidentally, in 2023, Bihar became the first state to make its caste census data public when the Mahagathbandhan government released it. In Telangana, which is another Congress-ruled state, the survey has been conducted and the government has released its data.
I would say, a sensitive state like Bihar, where caste is a matter, and in the past we have seen how the upper caste have behaved towards the lower caste. You will find that the caste engineering or the social engineering that has to be done by Congress will perhaps yield them some result. But let's not forget there are also newly born parties which are already looking at challenging Congress. And in my understanding of the status of Congress today, if they are not strategically planning this, I'm sure they will not be able to make good of what they are going to do with the caste census.
Even as CM Siddaramaiah assures that no community will suffer, he has the unenviable task of taking all factions of the Congress together. There's also the fear that any change to the reservation policy that the new recommendation may make might not stand the test of law. As you remember, the 50% cap on reservations was already breached when the BJP was in power, but it will get legal protection only when the constitution is amended and this part is added to Schedule 9. The ground realities may restrain the Congress from taking any immediate steps. Until then, the big question is, when will Siddaramaiah cast the die? We'll be following this story, and for updates, log on to DeccanHerald.com, subscribe to the paper's YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to receive a notification for new videos. Thanks for watching.